the hell did we just watch? I don't know what we just watched, Saints fans. Welcome inside a halftime edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast. I'm your host, Chris Rosevogan. As always, the Straight Up Saints podcast is brought to you by Scott McNair, Injury Lawyers. Saints are down 38-6 at the end of the first half. In a half that they held the ball for 22 of the 30 minutes. 22 of the 30 minutes, okay? And they are down 38-3. In this half, we have seen 8 penalties. We have seen a blocked punt. We have seen a punt return touchdown. We've seen a missed field goal. And more importantly, we've seen that Kellen Moore is in over his fucking head right now. And I said I'll be patient, and I'm going to stay to that. I'm not going to say right now that he's the worst coach in the league or start making some, exaggerated statements. But this is the most pathetic coaching display we've seen over the last couple decades as Saints fans. And I say this as someone who spent all of the last 2.5 years ripping Dennis Allen. And the reason I say it is this. The Saints are lacking talent. There's no doubt about that. But you cannot come into a game like this and look so unprepared where there was a point on that early drive where every play couldn't get off without a penalty. And it is pre-snap penalties, holding. The defense can't stop a fucking nosebleed right now. Honestly, the only player that I could sit here and go, all right, I thought they had a pretty good first half, was Chris Olave. That's the only player that I feel really positive about right now. Everything else is a mess. And what scares me the most is the Saints were down 35-3. 4th and 2. It was 4th and 2 in Seattle territory. You're down 35-3. And they attempt a field goal. And I hate to say it, I'm glad Blake Grupe missed that fucking field goal, because the fact that Kellen Moore thinks that kicking a field goal down 32 points is going to do anything, it's the equivalent of Chris Paul hitting a 3 when the Suns were down 40-something fucking points against the Mavericks in the Western Conference Finals. It does nothing. It does nothing. And what does he do now? He kicks a field goal. Congrats, it's 38-6. We found out that Grupe could hit a 25-yarder. He's missed everything else this season, all right? This team, I understand they're rebuilding. I understand they're going to lose a lot of football games. It should never look this bad. 38-6 at the end of the game, still bad. But you know what? If you told me that was the score next week in Buffalo, I'd take it. If you tell me that's the halftime score against the fucking Seahawks, who scored, I believe, 13 points in week 1, come on, man. His team is so undisciplined. Every week they say, oh, we're bringing refs to practice to fix the penalties. Really? We don't see it. They got 8 penalties already in the first half. They're on par for 16 penalties. And again, I know this team is a rebuilding team. I know this team is going to take a lot of work to get to the point where they're playing respectable football. But this is embarrassing. And it's even worse when it comes off the heels of a game last week where we thought, man, this looked really good. But instead, Kellen Moore just sits there staring into his playbook like it's going to solve anything. It's not. Nothing has changed with this team over the last couple of weeks. Everything's actually progressing in the opposite direction. And I can't even make a proper evaluation off certain players. I'd love to tell you right now, oh, I thought Rattler played well, or I thought he played bad. I can't even evaluate Rattler right now. Every other fucking throw that he makes is a holding call on the offensive line. The defense literally can't do anything right. They can't do anything right. And special teams is the worst part of this unit. They might need a special teams coordinator by Monday, a new one, because this is all-time bad. And, man, do they miss JT Gray. So those are my thoughts. I'm sure I'll save a lot more for our post-game live stream, so make sure to subscribe to Boot Crew Media if you haven't already. But I'm sitting here in this first half, and I swear, we'll see. There's 14 more games left, but I'm sitting there going, man, I don't know if Kellen Moore is a fucking head coach, because there are certain decisions you have to make. You got to put your big boy pants on, and you got to show some fucking balls, and this dude's not doing it. That 4th and 2 field goal try that he went with down 35-3 rubbed me the fucking wrong way. That aggravated me so much. So I don't know, man. I don't know if Kellen's the guy. And by the way, it is better off to rebuild. I'm still in the belief that the Saints rebuilding, hopefully long-term, will be better than them constantly saying, okay, 7-10 or 6-11, because that's not getting anywhere. But it shouldn't look this bad. I've seen teams that stay competitive in these games. The Detroit Lions with Dan Campbell, yeah, they got blown out sometimes in that first year, but man, they were in a lot of these games. Down 38-6 at halftime against Seattle is a fucking joke. So enough of me ranting. Let me get into some comments that you guys threw in. I'll try to get as many as possible before this second half begins. And as a fan, right, how do you even go into the second half? Like, what are we supposed to watch in this second half to get us excited? Yeah, Chris Olave's been pretty good, but it's like 8 catches for 40 fucking yards. There's no point with running the football with Alvin right now. You know, what are you going to put another 10, 12 touches up the mileage in a game that's a blowout. That doesn't make any sense. Defensively, zero bright spots to talk about. So it's just one of those games that's a throwaway. There's nothing good to say. 5023, the super chat. Thank you for the support, man. Says everyone's saying draft a quarterback. This quarterback class is dog water. Give me defense. Look, they do need pass rush. I couldn't agree more. The quarterback class, you're absolutely on the mark with that, Fitzy. Coming into this year, all right, everyone was hyping up Arch Manning. Doesn't look good right now. Everyone was hyping up Cade Klubnik. Clemson's 1-3, and he looks horrific right now. All right, Nussmeier has his moments, but he doesn't look like a surefire thing, obviously. Who else around the league, around college football? Just even Lenore Sellers. I really like Lenore Sellers. Obviously, we haven't seen the same Lenore Sellers we saw last year. There's still a ton of time for that to change. But, yeah, look, John Mateer's been good. The Indiana quarterback looked really good yesterday. But we gotta wait to see how these guys play going into next year's draft. And who knows? The Saints have so many needs. They need a pass rush. They need to fix the back end of the defense. Obviously, the offensive line, no matter how many freaking first-round picks they invest into this fucking group, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. A first-round pick on Ruiz, first-round pick on Penning, first-round pick on Banks, first-round pick on Fuaga. Who knows? Might go offensive line again, honestly. Hail Mendoza with a super chat. Thank you for the support, man. Says this team needs Jesus. Yeah, they need a lot more than Jesus, too. Even he's not going to save this team at this point with the way they played. All right, let me try to get through as many possible right now. Fred says, Kubiak going in dry, grouping a funk, special teams a disaster, Kool-Aid's a liability, stacking up penalties like we had training camp in the bring back the paper bags. Yeah. Good news, guys. Buffalo's next week. Yeah, I don't know. Prediction, Saints will lose by a lot next week against the Bills. Who that 712 says, I know they're rebuilding and untalented, but honestly, this team looks more ill-prepared than they did at any point during the DA era, and that's saying something. Yeah. I mean, you're down 38-6 against Seattle off a game where, like, they should be feeling pretty good. They should be feeling pretty good off that San Francisco game, right? You put up, what was the final score last week? Let me pull it up. 26-24. 26-21. You put up 21 points on a 49ers defense that's been humming the first 3 weeks of the season. And now it looks like a mess. Leroy with a super chat. Thank you for the support. Leroy says, Alante and Kool-Aid, not number one options. Couldn't agree more, man. Couldn't agree more. Maybe someday Kool-Aid will be that. And that is right now, I don't have the optimism to say it, but we know that Alante Taylor definitely is. And Alante Taylor is a solid football player. He is a solid football player. But right now, I don't think he's a number one corner. Obviously, Alante, Kool-Aid hasn't taken that next step, so it's tough. Cliff said Rat looked defeated after our last drive, and there's a whole nother half to play. And look, this is what bothers me. How the freaking hell can we even evaluate him today? Like I said, yeah, he's had a couple bad throws. The fourth down throw to Alvin wasn't great. Threw another one that could have been intercepted. So it hasn't been a great game from Rattler, right? But he is so far away from the problem right now, honestly. And he's got 29 pass attempts already. They got a whole other half of football to play. It's just a mess right now. There's nothing positive to say about this team. And it's really upsetting. It really is. JW says management needs to meet with Cam, DeMar, and Kamara, discuss their futures. They want out, work with them to find new teams. This Saints team is done for this season. Yeah, they got to be sellers. And by the way, so I'm going to bring up this comment about Mickey needs to go. The funny thing is there's so many people online. And again, I am for a rebuild. So I guess I fall under this category. And I said this during last draft. We all want them to rebuild because at the end of the day, that matters. The problem is the guy who's going to be making this picks sucks at drafting anyway. So it's just a lost cause. You're dumping more shit into the well anyway. Leroy with another super chat. Thank you so much for the support. Says we need to spend our low draft picks on defense. They need to spend every draft pick on defense with the way this unit looks right now. Honestly. Offensively, they're moving the football. They're not getting that. It's not equating to points. And it also doesn't help that their kicker sucks. And it also doesn't help that Kellen Moore thinks that they should kick a field goal when they're down, a gazillion points in enemy territory. But defensively, I mean, this is absurd. Sam Darnold is 10 of 11 for 169 yards and 2 touchdowns. And yeah, the run defense has been good. Whoop the fucking dude. JSN can go for 200 yards easy today if the Seahawks wanted to. They're obviously going to throttle back in this second half. But yeah. Trey Gibbs says Groupie shouldn't be allowed out of the tunnel with the C still on his jersey. The C's not for captain. It's for clown with the way he's played. And he's got to get cut at this point. They need a new kicker. I don't know how many more times they could see that and think it's acceptable. Tavia says we're definitely tanking. You can't tell me otherwise. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that, I don't think in week 3, the Saints are like, yeah, let's definitely tank. And let me tell you something. I know they'll be patient with Kellen Moore, but if you have weeks where it starts to look like this, the patience will run thin. And I say this as a league, when you look around, Gerard Mayo got fired after 1 year. I'm trying to forget other coaches. I got to remember other coaches that got fired after 1 year. But a couple of Texans ones did. Lovie Smith, and then I forgot the other coach before him. But coaches do get fired after 1 year if it's an absolute fucking train wreck. So there's going to be patience to a certain extent, but it can't look like this week in, week out. D23 says Kellen's a coward, won't even try to get back in the game. Yeah. Why try to sustain an offensive drive when you could just let your kicker miss a field goal? That sounds so great. KT says, how is 38-3 different than 38-6? It's not. It's not. You still need 5 touchdowns to get back in this game. To take the lead, you need 5 consecutive touchdowns by making it 38-6. Congrats, Kellen Moore. Congrats. Rosenfield says, I've been a Saints fan for half a century. I've rarely seen such bag-wearing worthy football. It is bag-wearing worthy for sure. 100%. This is just a fucking joke right now. D23 asked, what did they even do in practice this week? I don't know. I asked the same thing. Thank God they spent training camp doing paintballing and other team activities, which is great, right? In theory, it sounds awesome to build the camaraderie of the team. But this team fucking sucks right now, and it's hard to really get excited about that. Evan says, I might as well go packed for the rest of the year because one of my high school friends got drafted to Green Bay this past draft. God damn. I mean, this is rough, though. Chris has 8 catches for like 50 yards. Yeah, and again, at this point, too, Olave is just going to put extra mileage, put himself in harm's way for like 3-yard receptions every other throw. It's a mess. Edit Kings 21 says 0-4 onto the New York Giants. Yeah, look at how they're going to play the Bills next week. The Bills are going to have extra time to prepare because they just played on Thursday night. How the hell are we supposed to feel good about that? Sam Darnold is 10 of 11 right now with 2 touchdown passes. Josh Allen in Buffalo. How are you stopping that? Mac Jones threw for 279 yards and 3 touchdowns last week. And now Sam Darnold's about to do the same thing. And I look at this schedule, that Giants, Patriots, Bears 3-game stint should be one where it's like, okay, you can build up some confidence. Like, that's actually pretty favorable. But I don't know. At this point, with the way they played, how can I be confident at all? Yep, poor Rattler going 0-25. I really hope they don't do that to him. Bench him before you make him quit football. I saw someone tweet like, oh, they should put Tyler Shuck in to like see if it looks any different. I've been a big proponent of like, hey, at some point you got to see if Shuck's good. But what the hell does changing a quarterback do when special teams is literally giving up 2 scores already, when your kicker can't do anything, when your defense can't stop anything? You're still going to be down in this spot. So it's tough to say. And I don't even want to like make excuses for players, but it is rough. I kind of agree with Brenton right here. At this point, the Saints got to look at their roster, look at the cap situation. Who can you sell at the deadline? Who can you sell realistically? I don't care if you net back 5th round, 6th round picks. I don't care what you get in return. Start to move him. And by the way, I'm so glad that this Saints team that literally sucks so much ass right now has decided to trade a 4th and 7th round pick for Vele, who we don't even see. I know he's injured this week, but we don't even see him. So what a waste of a trade that was. Kellen's way too passive. Just let the offense play, man. We're fucking losing 38-3. I agree, Chuck. I agree. T-Mama says, I'm glad we had to cancel our flights a week ago. We had to cancel our flight tickets a week ago for this game. I was upset, but now I'm glad. Honestly, it worked out for you because if I had to sit there in Seattle watching the Saints just get absolutely clobbered like this, I'd be pretty defeated, truthfully speaking. I would be very upset about this situation. And I don't even know, like the second half's going to start in about a minute or a couple seconds from now, and I really am not even ready to see what this second half's going to look like. There is nothing exciting about this team. Big Tony says there's got to be someone living in New Orleans that can play better than this. We might have to start calling up people off the street next week. Don't disagree. Don says, damn, I miss Jameis. At least Jameis is entertaining. Clara says Dolphins versus Saints is going to be on Tubi at 4 a.m. Marvin says, will Sam play in the second half? I mean, yeah, you just hand off the football at this rate and just get out with a win. But if they want to put in their backups, they could at this point. El Mendoza says, sell Ruiz for the cheap. I'd give Ruiz away with draft picks at this point just to get rid of the fucking dude. Big Tony says the Shuck pick is a head scratcher. I mean, it sucks because, like, when he plays, he's got to be good, or else you're like, all right, a top 40 pick could have been used on another position. Werner just allowed another big gain in coverage. All right, well, that's going to be my cue, by the way. I'll do one more comment, then I'm going to bounce out for the second half. I want to remind you guys, we are going to do post-game live stream. We're probably going to be going for an hour plus because we got a whole lot to talk about. So if I missed your comment, make sure to subscribe to Boot Crew Media if you haven't over here on YouTube and come in for the second half. So we're going to wrap this up here. Really appreciate you guys coming in. Obviously, this has been the most embarrassing first half of football we've seen in a long time, us Saints fans. And I would say the second half is going to be better, but I have zero confidence about that. So we'll see what happens. Nonetheless, guys, make sure you subscribe and make sure you guys stay tuned for our post-game live stream here on the Straight Up Saints podcast, the destination for the Who Dat Nation.